Harvey Youngman.
What a nice group. Wow, look at this. I've been sitting there for so many years, and I never thought I'd come up here. You were right, I do have a boat at the Bahia Marina, and it's called Poker Money. Now, every time, I've had it for 10 years, people go by my boat, and they stop and they ask me, you must be a really good poker player. I said, no, just the opposite. I bought this boat on the money I saved by not playing poker. I was the most horrible. I love Texas Hold'em. I love playing no limit, but I'm a lousy player. In any case, sometimes I fish off the back of the boat, and I catch all kind of fish. One time, an electric boat came by, because we're right on the channel here, because that's where I fish. And he says, what are you catching? I said, mackerel. He said, do you like it? I said, I hate it. I always throw it back. He said, no, don't throw it back anymore. I'll tell you how to cook. He said, you take that mackerel, put it on a plank, you fillet it, put it in the oven for 350 degrees for 1.25 hours, take it out, throw away the fish, and eat the plank. You know, Bob went to the doctor, and he said, doctor, I feel pretty lousy. I get horrible headaches. I take Advil, I take Tylenol, Aleve, nothing seems to work. Doctor says, you know what, when my headaches get that bad, I go to my wife, I put my head between her breasts, and the headache completely goes away. He said, doctor, that is a wonderful idea. He comes back 3 days later, and the doctor says, well, how's your headache? He says, it's wonderful, doctor, and by the way, you have a beautiful house. You know, this couple got married, and they're on the older side, maybe the average age here. They were in the 70s, and this is their second marriage, and they went for a honeymoon, and they never saw each other nude. They were sitting at the Four Seasons in Westlake. He takes off his shoes. She looks at his feet and says, honey, your toes are all mangled. What's wrong? He says, you know, when I was younger, I had polio. She said, oh, polio. Okay, polio. So he proceeds to take off his pants, and she looks at his knees and says, look at, they're all red. They're shaped so ugly. What's wrong with your knees? He said, when I was younger, I had measles. She said, measles. So he takes off his underwear, and she says, don't tell me you had smallpox. You know, I asked my wife the other day, I said, Kathy, why don't you ever tell me when you have an orgasm? She says, because you're never around. That's cold. You know, she's blonde, and the other day I come home and she's in the kitchen. She has the freezer door open and looking inside the freezer at the orange juice can. I said, Kathy, what are you doing? She says, it says concentrate. Okay, this highway patrolman stops this. Sir, anyhow, this highway patrolman stops this lady for speeding. And he pulls her over, and he notices that she's blonde. He said, let me see your driver's license and your registration. She gives it to him, and he also notices that she is Polish. So he unzips his zipper, and she says, oh, no, not the breath test again. Man, that was a good one. I'm going to keep that in my skit. You know Groucho Marx. Who doesn't know Groucho Marx? You know, you bet your life. He had a woman on there that, this is the real story. But I thought it was quite funny, and you might think it's funny too. He had a woman come on the show, and she's very attractive, also a blonde, very thin, and really attractive. And she says, what's your name? She says, my name's Wendy. He says, where are you from? From Minnesota. She says, are you married? He says, yes. He says, how many kids do you have? She says, 5. He says, you really like kids, don't you? She says, but Groucho, you like your cigars. So he says, but I take it out once in a while. Oh, wow. How many of you guys are gamblers? Any gamblers here? You know, gamblers are very superstitious. This one guy, he loved horse racing. He loved horse racing. He wakes up one morning at 7 o'clock. He looks at his 7 o'clock. He looks at the calendar. It's July 7th. He says, it's my day. It's my lucky day. I'm going to go to the racetrack. He goes down. I'm sorry you don't like my jokes. Okay, so he goes down to the bank, this gambler goes down to the bank, and he withdraws $700. He goes to Santa Anita. He doesn't bet the first race, the second race, third race. He waits the 7th race and puts $700 on horse number 7. You know what happened? The horse came in 7th. What was he thinking? Oh, that didn't go good. That didn't go very good. Okay, little Timmy goes to church, and he's somebody talking while I'm talking. Little Timmy goes to church because he's done something wrong. He sits in the box at the Catholic church, and the father says, "Can I help you, Timmy?" He says, "Father, I've really sinned. I've had sex with one of the girls in high school. I'm really ashamed." He says, "Who was it?" So Timmy says, "I can't tell you her name." It must have been Susan. She's really loose. I said, "No, it wasn't Susan." "Oh, it must have been, it was Mary, right?" He said, "No, it wasn't Mary. I'm not going to tell you." So the priest says, "You tell me, or I'm going to." He says, "Oh, I know who it was. It was Cynthia." He says, "No, Father." He says, "If you don't tell me, get out of my confession box. Get out of my church." So he walks out the front door, and his 2 buddies are waiting for him. They say, "How did it go with the priest?" He said, "Didn't go very well, but he did give me 3 new leads." Okay, that's it for me now. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.